Hey yo, peace and blessings, fam. Peace and blessings. It's your kinfolk DMR, man, and you are now tuned in to another installment of Back to the Lab Live, where we celebrate classic hip hop albums, legendary MCs, DJs, producers, etc., in a cashmere sweater. You know what I'm saying? It's a cloudy 70 degrees down here in H-Town, man, my beloved city. And what I want to do today, man, this gonna be a dope one right here. This gonna be a special episode. Um, I want to give a shout out, man, to my homeboy Ray Lansky. You know, Ray Lansky has the mini series, a docu series called "You Got to Respect the Legends of Hip Hop Legacy," and he's been highlighting New Jersey, you know, throughout this first 3 volumes. And but I want to go a little deeper today. Hopefully he don't feel like I'm stepping on his toes or nothing. But I want to go a little deeper today, man, and I want to highlight specifically Trenton, New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? I have a dope connection to Trenton, man, for because of my love for the Ghetto Boys and my love for DJ Ready Red, and Poor Righteous Teachers, man. So yeah, we about to bring up some guests here in a minute. But first and foremost, man, I do want to introduce my lovely lady who's in the building with me right now, man. Share the experience. What's good, Share?
Good evening, y'all. How you doing?
Already, I see your vision, mama.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed. I am very excited about this show right now, and it's going to be amazing. And really, really thank you, Miss Ada, for connecting the dots for us. We really appreciate that.
Already. So let me let y'all know, man. This show is brought to you by my sponsors, man. Lonesome Frog Records. Go get that vinyl, and cassettes, and tapes, and CDs. 1900 Blaylock Drive out here in H-Town, Texas, man. And also Stephen St. Martin, attorney at law, 832-423-6056. If you ever get caught in the mix, holla at my mans, you know what I'm saying? And make sure y'all following us on all social media platforms, man. We everywhere. All we trying to do is keep this hip hop alive, keep the dots connected, you know what I'm saying? We do the history, we do the knowledge every week, every day when it comes to the anniversaries and stuff like that. So yeah, man, just make sure y'all following the pages. That way, y'all can stay up to date, man, with all the anniversaries and these legendary albums, man. That's aging like fine wine. You know what I'm talking about?
Ain't nobody getting old. We're aging.
Yeah, aging like fine wine. Real talk. Hey, I see my fam Kevin in the building. What's up, Kev? All right, man. So I want to bring my guests up, man. You know what I'm saying? I got 3 guests on deck right now, man. This is gonna be dope. Like I said, I want to highlight Trenton, New Jersey today, man. And I got some legends in the building. So I want to bring up Dramatic. I want to bring up Miss Thursday, aka Ada. That's DJ Ready Red, little sister, man. Rest in peace, DJ Ready Red. And the legend, man, Culture Freedom, man, from the legendary Trenton, New Jersey group, man, Poor Righteous Teachers. You know what I'm saying? So let me bring everybody up. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
Hello.
Peace. Already, man. We in the building. So look, man, if you watching this, tell a friend to tell a friend. You know what I'm saying? This is where the hip hop heads with ADHD come, because we be like all over the place with the topics. But for the most part, we're gonna try to keep this Trenton and nothing but Trenton. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, talk this history. So let's go around the block one time, man. What's up, Ada? You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
So let everybody know who you are, what you do.
Okay, well, so my name's Ada, aka Miss Thursday, whichever way you want to call me. First off, thank you and your absolutely lovely, beautiful wife, super producer back there, for having me. I'm grateful that you wanted to show love to my hometown. So, this is exciting, and I'm just ready for the conversation. As you said, I am the youngest sister of DJ Ready Red from the legendary Ghetto Boys, the Mighty MCs, and it's, on and on. And also, I am a nurse by trade. So happy Nurses Week to all the nurses out there.
It's Nurses Week?
It's Nurses Week.
Oh, hey. Yeah. Happy Nurses Week, man. I love it.
Thank you.
No doubt. We got Dramatic. We got Dramatic in the building. Dramatic, what's good, fam? Let them know who you are, what you do, my man.
First of all, peace to the show. What's going on to the show? You and your wife and Ada invited me. You know what I mean? Thanks for inviting me. My main thing was I'm from Trenton, New Jersey. My main thing was to highlight the artists from Trenton, New Jersey, because it was a dark spot since in between a certain time between when Ready Red released and when Poor Righteous Teachers released. Those were like the last guys that were real big, like got big out of our area. But it's a whole lot of rapping that still go on underneath all of that. So what I came with was just a show to highlight everything that was, you know what I mean, part of their time, part of Poor Righteous Teachers' time is my time. I was a youngster. I was younger, but I was still old enough to understand everything they had going, and they close to me too as well. So I tried to bridge the gap. That's what I came up with, the Winston Dramatic Show. That's what it was for.
Word. Hey, that sounds
You know
real
what I
good.
mean?
Respect to you,
From
fam.
Trenton,
I
New
like
Jersey
that.
too.
Already. Hey, man, and last
Absolutely.
but definitely not least, man.
You know what I mean?
Definitely not least, we got the man, Culture Freedom. You know what I'm saying? Poor Righteous Teacher. Hey, man, it's a
What's
blessing.
up, everybody? It's your man, Culture Freedom, hip hop's top chef and one of the co-founders of the legendary Poor Righteous Teachers crew in the house, representing Trenton, New Jersey. You know what it is, all day, every day. Let's go. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, man. I love this shit. So, like I said, man, in the chat, man, you know, the thing about this episode, I wanted to highlight Trenton, man, and have a convo about Trenton like nobody's ever heard before, man. And before we leave, hopefully, you know, what I would like to accomplish is that someday, if somebody was to come across this, man, 5, 10 years from now, 15, 20 years, I want them to get a lot of knowledge about Trenton. I want them to know the history. I want them to know how deep the roots are. And I want them to also know how much of an impact Trenton had on hip hop, man, because a lot of times Trenton get left out of the conversation. You know what I'm saying? With all due respect, I understand everybody's knowledge is not that deep, but I want them to have the knowledge before they leave today. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Respect.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right.
So, man, let's I didn't want to be cliche, but I was listening to the album. You know, can I start this? You know what I'm saying? Can I start this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
you know, talk to us. You know, and this is a free form right here, man. You know, whoever want to snatch the mic, just snatch the mic. But like, talk about what y'all remember as far as the beginning goes when hip hop hit out there. Like, what do y'all remember the most? You know, like, was it any
Can I go in?
spot?
Can I go in?
Go in. Let's take us back, man.
All right, all right, since I got older brothers, so you know what I mean, and the whole town was covered. Like, it's so cultural, right? It's so cultural because my background is Jamaican, right?
Respect.
Culture Freedom is so fly that he could come in the store and he could talk Jamaican. You feel me? And you know what I mean? He could do that. Him and Wise can do that, right? Until they almost singing it. And this is a later time though. This is a later time. This is not the time like Melly Mel. This is not like 1981. Actually, it was being born around that same time. But they it's just a whole birth, like it's a whole it was a whole birth. But when the Ghetto Boys and we found out that he's Red is from Trenton, you know what I mean? Most of the elders know Red, so they'll be like, yeah, man, he from around the way. And then Wise and Culture did they thing. You know, I first seen Wise and Culture, Poor Righteous Teachers tape. A guy named I forgot, not Money Bags, but somebody brung the tape around the way. This is the first mixtape I ever seen in my life. You feel me?
Whoa.
So
okay.
He brung that. I used to see dub tapes. I used to see dub tapes and all that other stuff. I know that. but I'm talking about hip hop from around your way. And it was big around our way. You know what I mean? It was big around our way to be like, we seen a tape with them in the hallway, and it's 3 of them. You know what I mean? I know all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, damn, that's such, you know what I mean? He right there, he come in the store, you know what I mean? Talk to Pops, whatever. You know what I mean? But they made a tape, and I was out West Trenton. So it made us from where I was in North Trenton. The crew was so tough, they made it, put the tape together, and it started floating through town. You know what I mean? It started floating through town, and I seen them. I know these guys, you know what I mean? And then the music was wicked on it. Like the music was, oh man. So they had created a whole sound that nobody was probably able to catch to this day. You might hear it through like Lauryn Hill. You know what I mean? You might hear it through people if you listen close enough. If you gotta have that type of ear, engineering ear or musical ear to be like, or at times just able to capture certain times. And I remember it, and I'm like, yo, them dudes nasty. Like them dudes did it. Them dudes but it was also other guys in the town that was also doing a thing too. You know what I mean? It wasn't just them. They come for them, from my view of it, they come from a bundle of different different types of fly atoms. You feel me? Like there's a whole bunch of them, and they had different flights, like different plights of different fly material. You know what I mean? But theirs happened to catch the world. I mean, catch the world at the time, man. People couldn't stop, man. I'm talking about, I go to the Bronx. I'm young, so I go to the Bronx, or I go to even Washington, D.C., anywhere, L.A. Like L.A., I have friends in L.A., like, hey, PRT from around there, like how you in Houston now, right?
Yeah.
You in Houston, and you'll be like, yeah, poor righteous teachers from around there. You gotta, if you into hip hop and you know, they remember that. You know what I mean? That I'm hearing that Bone Thugs and Harmony, yeah, we used to listen to PRT. It's how we got our style. You know what I mean? That's how they got the tongue twisting style out like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that was created around our way. Like all that was created around our way. You know what I mean? It was bunched together culturally. It's cultural. It's a whole cultural thing. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Neighborhood was tough back then.
So culture, I mean, real quick, if we can break off real quick, man, how did y'all start? And then around the time, what was like the landmark where you and the guys would meet up, or like other like ciphers took place or something like that? Like just run us a little bit of your history if you don't mind.
Well, the first time I heard hip hop, let me just say this. I was outside, right? So everything that involved being outside, I was into it. You know what I'm saying? And hip hop was it was the soundtrack to the hood, and I remember hearing the Sugar Hill Gang when I was like maybe I'm gonna say somewhere like 9 or 8 years old, and just saying the lyrics, and it's just coming to me naturally. There was a brother by the name of am I still in?
Yep.
Yeah, you here.
Oh, okay. Okay. So there was a brother, so I was listening to the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 and all of that. And I can remember after school, me and a brother named Master Justice, who was a part of a group called Truth or Square, where Divine Drummer is the DJ. He's also a producer. Me and him used to go in the back of the school and say Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 lyrics, back to each other. You know what I mean? And I was impressed that he knew so much of the lyrics. He was impressed that I knew so much of the lyrics. And that was the first time I remember even rhyming to anybody. It's like Grandmaster, come faster than any known, some to the bone, full grown. He's a one of a kind, and Flash is gonna rock your mind. I'm the COWBOY. I'm the man so fresh that you can't deny. We were saying all these lyrics to each other, and we was just laughing. We kind of dapped up. He went his way, I went my way, and it was just the soundtrack of the hood. And I lived out North Trenton at the time.
Okay.
And when I start hanging back in my old hood, which was West Trenton, that's when I bumped into Wise. You know,
Okay.
so I was being raised on a street called God Save Thee, right? And that's the street where the firstborn 5%ers were from. A brother by the name of Kareem Magnetic Allah. He was, you know, he educated everybody, you know, basically on God Save Thee. And I left there before I became a 5%er, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I moved to what is known now as Divine Land. And so most of my friends was out west. So I started to go back out west, and we used to hang on this one porch of one of our friends all the time. They eventually moved, and then Wise and his family moved into that house. So we just kept hanging on the porch, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
Wise had so many brothers and sisters. It was funny, man, because they were real fun, man. I mean, you know, he had like, I believe, like 4 brothers and 5 sisters or something like
Damn.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
they had a squad over there. They had a
he had a
tribe.
large family, man. And he was the next to the youngest boy. So me and his brother actually became best friends.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And me and him hung out for a while, and then he kind of branched off, found him a new like clique to hang with, and then me and Wise started hanging, and we was freestyle rapping at first. It was a guy by the name of Edgar Oriola, one of our friends, a Spanish kid, as a matter of fact. He was walking down the street playing sucker MCs.
Oh, the Run
And
DMC
then
beat.
that,
Yeah.
that's the one that got us hooked. You know, was that 2 years ago, a friend of mine
Right
asked
on.
me to say some MC rhymes to one say, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about.
So this 84, right? Like 84, 83.
Man,
Yeah.
the beat
Yeah.
hit 84. So I'm around 14 to 13 or 13 going on 14. And Wise, he was maybe a few months older than me or whatever. And man, we just started freestyling. And then we decided to go down to my grandmother's house, and she had a component set. I said, man, my grandmother, she got this system where you could rap and play music and stuff. And he was like, bet. So we went down there, we did a freestyle tape, and you know, we thought it was dope until we brought it back to his older brothers. And man, they just let us have it, you know. They was like, "Yo,
don't tell me they roasted y'all."
Y'all rhymes, yeah." It was like, "Y'all need to write y'all rhymes, y'all all over the place and all of that." And then one of his brothers was like, "Nah, you know, give him a shot." You know what I mean? But they, you know, they had a good time laughing at us. And you know, as time went on, we kind of like lost our connection. But and then I started actually hanging out in the projects where I was living.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and by the time we met back up, I was a 5%er. He was a 5%er. My name was Culture Freedom. His name was Wise Intelligent. And he was rhyming with another guy named Godfather MC. And they called themselves the Magnetic Building Factors. Right. And they was just like super deep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I was running with another clique called the God Squad. And the lead rapper was named was Grandmaster Rajan. And we was battling, you know, local crews. I was just doing a beatbox for him. And actually, we had battled Ready Red in his crew when they was down with the Mighty MCs, you know. And you know, we was just kicking around, rapping and stuff like that. And you know, and I remember one time it was at the Boys Club when we had a competition for some money. I think it was like $200 you know.
Hey, that was a lot of money on the line, right there.
Yeah, man. And, you know, me and my boy, you know, we was kind of like little hustlers. So, you know, we had money. We just wanted the clout. You know what I mean? And, you know, we was 5%ers. We came in there all cocky. You know what I mean? And we went, and then Red and them, man, they beat us. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it was, we had dope lyrics, but their routine was real clean. You know what I'm saying? And that was a learning moment for me because, you know, they were saying some rhyme they had about Trenton, and they was coming in and out like Run DMC or something like that. You know, Red was on the turntable, and the routine was so clean. And I was like, man, you know, we gotta get our stuff together. You know what I'm saying? Because we had part of the crowd with us because they knew who we were and stuff like that. But that was the first time I realized, like, yo, there's another element to that. You know, and just, you know, so we kept pedaling around. Eventually, me and Wise, we started our own group, and that's where we got the Poor Righteous Teachers from. But I just want to say how instrumental Reddy Red was, because I don't think he get enough props for the hip hop scene. Reddy Red had the most coveted job in the city as far as DJing. He was the DJ for the Capitol Roller Rink, and they would, you know, it would be popping every Friday and Saturday night, and Red would be on the turntables killing it. And that's why I heard a lot of the new rap, a lot of new rap songs. You know, Red was like, you know, he was like a rock star to us. You know what I mean? Because he was a few years older. And man, you know, just skating in there, and then afterwards they would, you know, everybody take the skates off and start breaking and all this other stuff.
That's right.
And one of the guys in his group, the Mighty MC, name was Rod D. I believe that was his name. Well, so Rod D was a popper. Right, he was real good popping and breaking and stuff like that. And that kid was in my 8th grade class, you know. And then Johnny C, I believe Johnny C was like one of the coldest skaters in there. Him and his brother. I don't know his brother name. Him and his last kid, Radu. Yeah, and they all, man, they had one of the sweetest skating routines ever, man.
Damn.
You know what I mean? So then when I found out, you know, they was rapping together, and the rapping was crazy too. So I was like, man, you know, but when Red moved to Houston, man, like it was a sad moment. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like who is going to be on the turntables? Who's going to spin? You know what I mean? And there was other DJs like Father Ramsey, who was nasty. Him and Red battled one time. And he was nasty, so we was just kind of, it was like up in the air who was going to take over. But I just remember that day. I was sad and both happy for him, right? Because I heard about him trying to do some things with music and putting out records. So he was like an inspiration to myself, you know, just like, man, and for the city, you know. And when I heard some of the stuff he was doing, you know, it just gave us more momentum. To keep going. But me and Wise, you know, we was kicking around rapping. It was a lot of other MCs. You know, you had the Ammunition Posse that I was familiar with. Tall kid by the name of Just. My man Unique was in the crew. They was like the first Wu-Tang to me. You know what I mean? Because this is before I heard of Wu-Tang, or Wu-Tang even came out. We had the Ammunition Posse, where it was like, man, like 8 or 9 guys in there rhyming. And eventually part of them broke off and became the Suicide Posse. But it was like 8 or 9 of them. And my man Unique, Glorious Mathematics, he had used to let me hear the tapes. So I was like, man, all them kids nasty. And they all had names of guns. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, like a Mac 10 and Uzi and stuff like that.
There was like Diamond Uzi, you know, Trey 8 and all of that. And before they would rhyme, they would be like 22, cap, 38, pow. You know what I mean? That's an
instant concept right there.
And they started rapping and stuff like that. So just sitting up under that, man, you know what I mean? Then you have my man Omar Superstar, who rhymed on the Black Business album, The Real Ish. He was nasty. Like I'm talking about lyrically. You know what I mean? A lot of these cats was real lyrical. And you know, me and Wise, we were of like the younger generation. So we was kind of floating under the radar a little bit, and until we got our break. But I mean, that's pretty much, you know, how it happened. You know, we just kind of, Trenton has always been a hip hop city. Because we were wedged between Philadelphia and New York. We were like maybe 40 minutes from Philadelphia, and then maybe an hour and 15 minutes from New York. You could catch the local train and go to New York and bounce all over, ride the Vines. Or you can take the SEPTA train and go right into Center City, Philadelphia, and hang out there. So we was wedged in between both of them, and that's what helped us create our own unique flavor, you know. And a lot of our music, like Dramatic said, you know, had chatting in it, because dancehall was big in Trenton, New Jersey.
At that time,
I remember walking around playing Yellow Man, Fathead, Purple Man, Ugly D, Welton Irie, Peter Metro.
They would know. He would know more songs than somebody's from the island. Like they would know that. Like you'd be like, yo, until they actually got older and actually met some of these dudes personally, you'd be like, yo,
Yeah.
he actually met him. You know what I mean? Real
So
deep, real
let
dope.
me ask y'all this real quick. So culture, you said at the contest, Red and them smoked y'all because they were a little bit more polished. So
I mean, truth is truth.
and
I
that's
remember, like,
real.
we ripped up the second
Red
place
them was
money. You know
tight.
what I'm saying?
So that's what I want to ask Ada.
Yeah,
So
man, we ripped up the
Yeah, they
money.
was tight. Yeah.
so this was early 80s, like 84. So that mean Red and them must have been on their shit even earlier to be so crisp and so professional
Like the
Yeah,
that
whole, like
early.
the whole 80s, like the whole
we was
80s, like the
yeah,
whole 80s, not just the early, the whole 80s. The
yeah.
whole
So
80s. He was tight.
let me jump in real quick, and I'm gonna piece
Go ahead,
together
sis.
what everybody was saying because I'm the youngest, right? But
Right,
I'm
right.
a little skew. So if we're going back, like as far as for me, of course, I'm 10 years younger than Red was.
Mhm.
So I don't remember a time that hip hop wasn't around because
Mhm.
I
In
just
the
remember,
house. Yeah, it was in the house. Yeah.
and and our family was heavily influenced by everything. We were a very religious family, so there was always gospel, but my grandma was really in the country, and then there was like the top 40s, if you will, that my other brother and my sisters was into. And then like my dad was like a big Elvis fan and could sing real good, so he would do like Johnny Mathis and all that stuff. So you have all these different flavors, but my introduction to hip hop, if you will, would be like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and all of those guys, because Collins was like, just like that's what made him fall in love with hip hop.
Mhm.
One of our cousins that lived in New York at the time gave him a tape, and from that moment on, that was like he wanted to do it. And speaking to the way my brother was as far as with the music, I think that because when Collins fell in love with hip hop from hearing about Grandmaster Flash, he told my grandpa, like my grandpa was the patriarch of our family. So he's like, yo, grandpa, like I want to be a DJ, like, like this. And he's like, what's this hip hop stuff? Like, what's, whatever. My grandpa was the type that when Collins said, this is what I want to do, I want to be like this guy, he took him to a show.
Oh,
Master Flash, and
yeah.
he was like, after that, he went and brought Collins the equipment.
Because
And
he had to have proof that look, this is something that people are
yeah,
into.
so
You
if he
saw how
thought
he
it
moved
was
the crowd.
something that might be something he was worth investing in, he would do that. And and Collins, he like literally, like I think I was telling you when I was there, like when I was growing up, I thought my brother was a vampire because I hardly ever saw him during the day, but I would hear him at night before I would go to bed. So, I was a little girl, but I remember Johnny C coming to the house we lived in West Trenton originally, and I would hear them like before I would go to bed at night. It would be like a little bit of music. He opened his door, get louder, hear, somebody running down the steps, opening the door, then you hear more people coming upstairs. So it was like, our house became this place where they would like perfect what they were doing, and
Right.
when my brother first got started, he actually was with one of our cousins named Joey Robinson. So it's Joey Robinson, a guy named Rob Robinson, and they was from out of one of the townships. A lot of our family lived in a place called White City. And
Mhm.
so they all kind of started DJing at the same time, started going to the roller rink, and DJing. And they had like a whole little DJ crew. So, when we talk about the 80s, you had that a lot. You had a lot of DJ crews or whatever. So when Collins first started with the Mighty MCs, it was him and Johnny C and Brother Roddy. And I think there was at one point someone named Raheem or whatever. And so I was like still in elementary school when Collins first left and, moved to Houston. So I was coming out of elementary going into middle school when I really started seeing Trenton like kind of explode with its
Mhm.
own situation. So I think by the time I was in high school, that's when I was introduced to Poor Righteous Teachers, because when my niece was older than me, so one of her friends used to date Wise or something. So that was my first introduction to them before they even put out albums and stuff. I had heard a tape. And
Right.
then, it's Suicide, that's out West Trenton. And then you got Boulevard, Mossy out on North Trenton. And then you got all these other groups or whatever. And like you said, like, at one point, like going from late 80s into the, like early 90s, we used to have what we call dub sessions. So like for somebody
Okay.
that wasn't old enough to go to the club, you just we had spots you hung out at in Trenton, you hearing the music playing, like from the cars driving by or whatever. And then you go to the dub session about 2-3 o'clock and they're playing reggae music.
Morning. Mhm.
So when you
Mhm.
So
listen
what were
to
some of these spots?
what some of the okay, so you had Nino's. It was like, you had to go to Nino's on a Friday night. You had
Yeah,
the
late
shrimp
night.
boat. Like these are like literally just food spots. Like you come and congregate. Like I
Yeah.
was even watching
Mhm.
like the lad video of some a younger rapper named Young Baby talking about when he got shot. And I know people was probably like, what are you talking about? You going to the gas station to hang out? But we had gas stations. You go there late
Mhm.
night, it's gonna be mad people there. You know what I'm saying? So
Damn.
we,
Mhm.
and mind you, let me, kind of put this in perspective for everybody. Trenton is 7.5 miles. That's it. And it's broken up into sections. So you got South Trenton, you got West Trenton, you got East Trenton, you got North Trenton. And East Trenton's kind of split into two because you got East Trenton and you also got Wilbur section. Then you got townships
Mhm.
that's around it. You got Ewan, you got Lawrence, and you got Hamilton. And Hamilton is split into two, where you got White City and you got Bromley. And we all just up in there. So, the thing that I always loved about my city was I felt like we was like sustaining or something. Like there's so many artists and so much music that came out of Trenton. And even though a lot of people may have only heard of, Poor Righteous Teachers or, certain groups, a lot of those groups didn't really care because it seemed like, as long as the city was supporting you, like they were good. But the thing that always made me laugh about my city is like, I felt like we went places just to see each other. Like we would go to New York or go to Philly or go to Delaware to the skate rink just to hang out with each other. Like that's how we were back then. So
Hmm.
so yes, there was like a lot of food spots and like like they talked about the Capitol roller rink. After the Capitol kind of closed, and we had the Boys Club, and we had the Y, and we had Lawrence, where we would have parties at, and then on and on. And then as you got older, you went to certain bars or whatever that had spots, and they always had DJs. But then we also had a place called the War Memorial Building, and that's where they would do shows at. So even at the roller rink, there was a gentleman from New York named Arthur. I can't think of his last name. He was the one that was responsible for bringing a lot of the acts from New York down to Trenton. So when Collins or Red, as y'all, Ready Red was
Mhm.
DJing there, that's when you're having LL and Roxanne Shante and all these people coming to be at, the roller rink. And then at the War Memorial, we had shows with the Fat Boys and Big Daddy Kane and all that stuff. But they would also have a lot of times like contests before. So, we learn to see like who the major players and the artists that was coming out of the city, and also DJs, because back then DJs were still like at the forefront. So
Mhm.
Trenton has a lot of amazing DJs that of course a lot of people have heard of DJ Juice, rest in peace. We just celebrated DJ Juice Day the other day. May 1st is the day that we celebrate him. But even just watching him become who he was in the mixtape game, and and so many of the other DJs. But yeah, it's like if you kind of go back and listen, like that late 80s, beginning of 90s, a lot of the music that came out of Trenton, it was heavily influenced by that reggae. and there was a lot of chanting on, you know, a lot of like, you know, you hear that a lot. And I think for me, what always frustrated me was I felt like we had our own sound. Like we didn't sound like Philly. We didn't sound like New York. We sound like Trenton. Like it was what was going on in Trenton. And, you know, a lot of us was in the house. We heard all of these flavors within the music, you know.
Let me ask y'all this. So being in Trenton, did that mean when it came to radio, y'all got Philly radio?
You got both. You
You
got
got
Philly
both.
and New York, depending on what
Okay.
part of town you was in. You
Turn your
you
mic on,
muted.
Culture. Turn your mic.
So we got 98.7, we got BLS, we got WHBI. WHBI was like a college radio station to a degree, and that's where Chuck D and all of them used to be on. So if you wanted to hear like some of the underground stuff from New York and hear it first, you would listen to WHBI, and you could catch like, you know, the Supreme Team and all of that type of stuff. And we was able to hear all of it. I remember a guy asked in an interview a little while ago, I think it was like Lord Jamar was asking why. He was like, being that, you know, Trenton was so far away from New York, and I don't think it was that far, it's just like an hour, 15 minutes. But anyway, he was asking the question, and I was like, yo, B, we was at the same time sharp with everything else that was going on, because that's where most of us done our shopping, you know what I'm saying, in Harlem, you know, on 125th. So I would go up there and you know, Dr. J's and Floor Shines and all that stuff, and buy the Bally's and the Britishes and all of that. So we was wearing all the same stuff and doing all that and just kind of rocking it our own way. And you know, and listening to the music, because if you went on 42nd or like I said 125th, brothers was out there selling mixtapes, you know what I mean. Divine Drummer just had Cool Sir Brown and Thermy Therm, you know, on his show the other day, and it was like that was a mixtape, man, that was going around Trenton like hotcakes, you know what I mean. So it was, I mean, if you knew, you knew, you know what I mean. If you was in, you was in, because when hip hop hit, if you had older cousins or older brothers and stuff like that, they knew where to go and where to take you up New York in order to hear it and be a part of the scene, like Latin Quarters and all of that other stuff. So, you know, even when it came to dancehall, you know, there were certain, you know, dub sessions and stuff like that that was happening where, you know, brothers knew, like my man PG, we called him Power God, rest in peace. You know, he knew where all the, you know, the dancehall spots was and all of that. And other brothers that I was hanging with, that's how I was getting all the tapes, like Purple Man, Squiggly D, like I was saying, Welton, Irie, Ecamos, you know what I mean? So just by listening to all of this stuff, when we got in the studio, it was like, boom, it was automatic. You know what I mean? It was just coming out. So we were very much, as a matter of fact, like as far as history, if is history correct? So we're saying Trenton, New Jersey, but we wasn't that far from like Newark, New Jersey, and Patterson and all of that stuff, where like, you know, Queen Latifah, Naughty by Nature, Redman, the Fugees, you know, they're all New Jersey artists as well. So we wasn't that far from them. You know what I mean? We had to actually pass all of those cities in order to get into New York. You see what I'm saying? So they were listening to some of the same stuff that we were listening to. And so it was all, you know, one big montage, a melting pot, to where, you know, you had to, like Redman just said recently in the interview, he was like, man, New York, you know, y'all was stingy with y'all hip hop.
Yeah,
you know
I remember that.
So you might say you're from Houston or wherever, but we had to fight for our, you know what I'm saying, for our stake in the whole thing too. It wasn't like if you wasn't from one of the 5 boroughs, you know, you had to show and prove what it was. You know what I mean? So, and we were, you know, Trenton, you know, we were well schooled and well, you know, in the trade of that old boom bap. Because, you know, like I said, we had Tony D, can't forget him, you know, producer, you know, he was nice. He was one of the first kids I seen using the Lindrum. You know what I mean? And he traded my man a 909 for a Lindrum. So some of the first joints that me and Wise was doing was on the 909. And he was one of the first cats I seen like recording at the crib on the Yamaha 8-track and all of that stuff. So, you know, we was doing it. We just didn't break through yet, like breakthrough. You know what I mean? And when we finally broke through, it was like, what is this? What else is going on down there? And it was like you had brother named by the name of True Love, you know, from Miller Holmes. It was another project on the I believe Miller Holmes was out east, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Miller Holmes was out east, so that was one of the larger projects in Trenton, New Jersey. We were from Dolly Homes, which we called Divine Land. You had brothers out there that was rhyming, you know, and it was everybody kind of had their own flavor, like Ada was saying, you know, they was doing their own thing, and based on what side of town you was from, you might have had your own little flavor too.
Okay.
When it came to that, you know what I mean? But we kind of knew what was popping. You know what I mean? Everything down from to the Procats, to the Britishes, like I said, to the Valleys, all of that stuff. And when DeHaven, right? Jay-Z, man,
Jay-Z's homie,
yeah. When DeHaven came to Trenton, he was going to Trenton High. And he was like, man, I didn't know y'all was doing it like this down here. You know what I mean? And Jay-Z had moved down there. He was staying with his aunt. And when me and him linked up after him and Wise battled, you know, it was just like it was a matter of time, because he had not popped neither. He was, you know, he was still hanging with Jazz and hanging with DeHaven. You know, obviously DeHaven was a hustler, Jazz was an MC, and he was hanging with them too. So quite naturally, he grew to be what he was. But he was just going around, you know, kicking it around in Trenton, because, you know, it was a lot going on in Trenton outside of hip hop, if you know what I mean.
At the time. At the time.
Hey, I want to ask you this. I want to ask this. So how did Trenton become most known for like the 5%? You know, because I don't hear a lot of the 5% coming from you know, the Jersey cities or the Newarks and everything. It was just something about Trenton. How did that come about?
Divine Land, man.
Yeah, like Ada said, it wasn't that big. You know what I mean? It's
Divine.
Not that big.
And it just so happened that most of the rappers happen to be part of the 5%. Yeah, we had a very large 5%.
Well, it was big. It was big in New Jersey.
Yeah.
You know
it was big in New Jersey. Asbury Park. It was in Jersey City as well, Newark and all that. New York definitely, but Trenton just highlighted it, especially at a certain time. Like Trenton highlighted it, and you know what I mean, Divine Land, man. You know what I mean?
Like Ada said, a lot of the rappers were 5%.
We go to Newark.
They content really didn't include much of it like y'all's did, Culture. You know what I'm saying? Like and somebody like YZ, you know, somebody like I heard it, and I was a young cat, like, but I knew that this talk was different though. You know what I mean? You know, you was talking about, you know, the 7 and stuff like that. Like, I was just like, yo, this is different. This is not what I'm hearing from Apache or, you know, or Naughty or something like that. You know what I mean?
And a lot of them knew about it, but they didn't incorporate it into their
lyrics.
And their rhyme.
You know what I
mean?
mean?
You know what's even more funny when you go back to the first single that Red and Johnny did as Ghetto Boys, the Be Down, like that wasn't a term that a lot of people understood, because, you know, growing up, even though I had no real understanding like what 5%ers were and all that stuff, I knew what it meant, like when somebody was like, they down by law, or, you know what I mean? Like there was certain sayings that, you know, you became real familiar with just from being in the city. So it was like even funny, like when, you know, Killer Mike came out with, you know, with the Michael album, and he had the, you know, the Down by Law song. I'm like, wait, what do you know about that? You know what I mean? Because like coming from the city, like you just so familiar with it that it wasn't until I, you know, moved away and stuff that I realized like this is not the norm for everybody. Like they don't know it was.
Yeah, it's not.
Like it's crazy.
It wasn't.
It was. And shout out to, you know, my family, Caliber Devil 7 is in the chat. He been chatting it up with us too. He's a very dope artist from Trenton as well. Shout out the Jersey Block that is on his Denzel tip right now. So he ain't trying to rap, but he still owe us 2 albums. But I'm not going to say nothing else.
Hey, they hold him to it. So what was up with the with like the labels and stuff like that in Jersey? Did y'all have labels out there that you could just walk up to, or was everything in the boroughs, everything in New York City?
I mean, it was between Philly and New York.
Talk to him, Coach.
Yeah, it was between Philly and New York. You had labels like, for us, a lot of people was going the independent route.
Okay.
Like our first single got put out on Northside Records. It was owned by the name of a guy named Eric IQ Gray. He produced 2 tracks on our very first record.
Oh, matter of fact, he was talking on the intro of the debut, right?
Well, he IQ, he was the guy in Rock This Funky Joint video with the big floppy hat on.
Okay.
That was like funky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this kid, right? He used to walk through the projects with a briefcase and a trench coat.
Wow.
So you know what I mean? Like he was like living it before he actually, did whatever. You know how it was. So he was kind of walking through, and there was Northside Records, there was Diversity Records, which was YZ and a guy by the name of Tim Baylor. They had Diversity Records, and we were actually going to put our single out with them at first, but it didn't work out, and we eventually put it out on Northside Records. So a lot of people was going the independent route. You know what I mean? You had Scorpio Records, which Pull Out the Boulevard, Mossy, they were on there, and it was like a lot of little independent labels floating around. And it was a artist by the name of Too Cool Posse that was actually on Profile before we were, and Tony D produced them as well. Tony D had a single on Tommy Boy with another rapper by the name of Gino G.
Yep,
And they had Is My Day on one side, and then Terrifying on the flip side of that. And so when Tone came through the hood, he was playing that. And I'm listening to it, and it sound real professional because we was doing a lot of stuff in the house. You know what I mean? We was still on that homegrown type stuff with just 2 microphones and the DJ. But when he drove through the block and he was playing that, and I was like, man, that thing sound like, it sound right. And so that's where we started recording our stuff in the Epsilon studio out Hamilton. It was one of the suburbs that was surrounded Trenton, and Profile Records got a hold of it through Red Alert. Red Alert was playing it on his mixtape show, and
nice.
one of the A&Rs up there was like, "What's that record that you keep playing with Peace in the hook of it?" And he told him, Poor Righteous Teachers, they on the independent, blah blah blah, and that's how that happened. But once again, New York and Philadelphia was so close that, you know what I mean? You could get a deal if you put it in the hands of the right person. But you couldn't actually walk into the record company and be like, I'm so-and-so, like the movies was. Like, you had to have an in, like somebody you knew, like with the Jungle Brothers, Mike G, Red Alert was his cousin, and him, Q-Tip, Busta Rhymes, Jay-Z, and all of them went to high school together. So you kind of, it was a small little circle, and if you was good, then eventually somebody would hear about you. But we really didn't have any like major labels out of Trenton, but we had a lot of independents. We also had a R&B group by the name of Instant Funk that was from Trenton, New Jersey. A brother named Raymond Earl, who played the bass and stuff, he was kind of like one of the leaders of that group. And they broke through pretty big with a song called "Got My Mind Made Up." Come on, you get it, girl. Anytime.
I'll show you about them.
That is fine. Yeah.
So that's where that came from. That's what the thing. Who did that? Pac, didn't Pac remix that or something like that?
Something like that.
A lot of people, couple people.
What's his face? from Buster, like it. When I did the shout out to Slapbox and TV, when I did the Slapbox that I was on, I had to use them as one of my verses, if you will, and like that song has been heavily sampled, like, and Instant Funk still be out there doing their thing,
Okay.
That groove, man.
Shout out Raymond Earl.
Absolutely.
So
Raymond Earl
Red
has really played a part in hip hop, even though he wasn't in hip hop.
Man, that funk.
Yeah, that funk.
That funk.
Man. Hey, so Dramatic, man. Do you remember when y'all got them PRT? Because you say your pops had the record store, right?
I actually did.
You had the record. Okay.
He had a grocery store, but my record store was inside of his, which was my ultimately the family store. But yeah, go ahead. What was you saying again?
So you remember putting PRT on the shelf up in there for the
nah, this was way before. All right, this was way. Their first mixtape, like it was like a real tape, was their mixtape, and their first mixtape, I used to live next door to a guy named Dollar Bill. Bill brung they tape around, like Bill would be in the hood, Bill Hood, dice games, whatever. You feel me? But Bill brung, it was me and a couple of the guys. So Bill showed me, and I took the tape because I'm into music. So I took the tape. I didn't take it from him, but I was like just looking at the album cover. You know what I mean? And I know these guys I'm out West Trenton, but I know these guys from North Trenton when I'm younger, you know what I mean? But I still know them from coming in the store, my father's store in North Trenton. So I'm like, oh snap, this, you know what I mean? This divine, you know what I mean? This D and this culture freedom, shit, you know what I mean? And we looking at it, we studying the tape. I'm talking about it's in my hand, from my hand. All three of the guys, we studying the tape, like, because this is the first time from around our way, really somebody is kind of a distant. I don't know how to explain it to you. Like, you're so close to somebody, but they distant. You get what I'm saying? Like, oh shit, this look like it's on the brink of becoming like a like I'm gonna just say an artist. I'm not meaning pop because I'm a hip hop guy, and I'm a reggae guy and I'm a music guy. So it's like Christina Aguilera, I've never met her. I kind of dig her, you feel me? But I've never met her. But it's on that wave, like, yo, it's kind of distant. Yo, Curtis Blow. I never met Curtis Blow, you feel me? And I seen his records, AJ Scratch, whatever, you know what I mean? But these guys is looking like that. And then when I hear the music, Butt Naked Booty Bless, Time to Say Peace, you know what I mean? When you hear it, you know what I mean? We didn't, because being young, we didn't hear nothing like that, like around our way. You know what I mean? We didn't hear it like that. We heard things and heard the way people speak or whatever, but we didn't hear the music like that. You get what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, and it's just making the I self-lord in my pen. Once again, you know what I mean? And you hearing the dope, and this guy right here he ad-libbing here. He ad-libbing. I'm like, yo, they killing that. They killing that set. You feel me? It's a set, and it's the same thing he said Red and them did when they had their set. Like they did a set for y'all. You know what I mean? So on the cassette, they did a set for us, which we wasn't, everybody was into something else. Maybe whoever was hot at the time, what was that, like 88? Maybe Steezo or somebody, whoever, EPMD or somebody like that at the time. But then you hear guys from around your way and they getting busy. So it's like, yo, it's getting to that other level. You know what I mean? It's turned into another level. And then it turned into the actual album a few months later or whatever, when they took pictures in the spot, and all three of them was in the set and the whole full album. People that was in school with them, I was around them. I'm a little younger, but I'm around people that they're in school with. So they bigging it up. They talking, oh my gosh, I ain't know he had it like that. The lyrics, you know what I mean? They ain't know he had it like this, that, and third. When it's on wax, it's different because they lay it out, set it up for you. You know what I mean? They might have heard him freestyle or whatever, heard Coach, you know what I mean, Wise freestyle, but when they set it up, it's different. And it was magic for the town. Like, it was really magic for the town, man. Everybody wanted either. Some folks was mad it wasn't them. Some people were so happy that they would cry, like, oh man, you know what I mean? Because coming from where we kind of come from, it don't seem like somebody could get to a certain level like that. You know what I mean? It coming from where we come from, it don't seem like that. There used to be heavy fights in the town, like it wasn't that many shootings. It may have been some shootings, some stabbing. And I don't want to get into the negativity, but to see somebody finally make it out and they kind of like, you're close to your peers, it's like magic. Like, you feel real good off that. The whole town was feeling, everybody in the town was feeling good off of that. You know what I mean? That release. Feel me?
Here's a route I want to go, man. Y'all, you know, chime in if you want to, man. Has there been any friendly competition on wax out in the city? Not nothing that led to no brawls or nothing, but just you know how cats like to trade bars and you know.
As of lately or back then, you saying?
Back then was it
all right, back then,
yeah,
back then, listen,
anybody
back then,
going at each other lyrically?
Well, all right, it was kind of whack at the time to really do it. So to do that like that, even though they probably were, most of the MCs were prepared to do that, but they didn't do it. So what they do is they'll style you. You get what I'm saying? When I say that, whoever got the flyest style get you. You get what I'm saying? Okay. If he'll style you, here's certain things he say. If he style you, like if Wise style you, he'll style you like a certain style that you can't catch is why he'll be. It's almost like boxing, like how boxing is when you see certain parries and you see certain shoulder rolls. Like, these dudes was very technical with that rhyme, but they didn't really shoot you. Like, they didn't shoot you with the rhyme. They were technical with the rhyme, and a style beat you. They'll style you. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that in Trenton. That's how I seen it. Maybe they seen Coach might have seen something different. You feel me? He might have seen actual going at dudes' heads. But I know from my side of seeing certain battles, their styles, you know what I mean? Like Suicide. All right, Suicide. I'm gonna use Suicide for instance. If they battle in a crew or whatever, they'll come in with their gear alone, like some what's the 40 belows, stuff like that, and they, you know what I mean? They moving. It's a certain style. They styling you. You feel me? It's not that some of them, the rhymes won't be as tough, but his style is about to blow you out. You know what I mean? So it goes in different. It's in different segments and stuff like that. Like now, at that time,
before we got a deal or before we popped, you know, when I was with the God Squad, that's when we ran into the most, you know what I mean, like battle type stuff. Because there was a brother named by the name of Duke. He had it was called the Wonder Crew, right? He had a group called the Wonder Crew, and this brother by the name of Almighty Force, that's what we call him now. He's a show promoter and stuff like that. He's a 5%er now, but back then he wasn't a 5%er. And they was part of a crew called the Wonder Crew. And, you know, the God Squad used to battle the Wonder Crew. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And my man Rajan, he was like maybe 4 years older than me or so, him and the rest of the guys. So, you know, I used to be sitting at the house listening to them, you know, write their battle rhymes against these guys. You know, and Rajan wrote one rhyme about a Force one day. He was just like, "We'll sit right back and you hear a tale about a brother who he's slick. Run around town, say he'll battle me, but in reality, he's on my enough rhymes in my head to fill a department store. Rajan, why did you say he'll battle me, Grandmaster? I'm not sure." You know,
it's crazy you remember that culture.
Yeah, the style, as you see, the style is more attractive than
sound like somebody getting styled. Sound like somebody
getting styled on. Yeah, he's styling on it.
Rhymes. Yeah, we was writing rhymes for Red and them too. You know what I'm saying? Because you never knew when
he got to.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
remember
The powerful,
Rajon
yeah.
would ride, cause see, they would come to the battle and they be dressed up like with button ups and sweaters on top
They
of it.
geared up.
You
Yeah,
know
they
what I mean?
geared up.
Like they
Yeah,
going to
they
the
was
Ivy
geared up.
League,
You know what I
Ivy
mean?
League
They
colleges.
geared. That's geared up back then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our gear was different. You know what I mean? Their gear was
Different.
different
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
very neat. You know what I mean? They were very
Yeah.
Johnny C and them and Rod D. They was very neat and proper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we was more like b-boying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's that. Rajon was attacking their gear. You know what I mean? But you couldn't
Right.
mess with their routines. Their routines were super tight. So
Was
he was like,
tight.
I'm gonna attack their gear. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know
He
what I
gotta
mean?
find it. He gotta find a way to get in. Yeah. He
Yeah,
gotta
Rajon
find
was
a
like,
way.
man, they
Yeah.
fessing, man. They fessing. They ain't doing this, they fessing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he was like, they
Come on.
come to the Jam Rock in their Sunday best and get on the mic and fest. You know, he's
Hey,
like, yo, they come through
Yeah.
here
he
fessing.
remember this shit.
That's what's
I
Yeah.
mean,
He
tripping me
remember it
out.
straight. Yeah. He know it. He was right there. He was right
our
there.
lights, man. You know, it was our
Shout
Yeah.
out to Positive Force.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we, so because
Yeah.
we was the God Squad, we was sort of like misfits. You know what I'm saying? Like we
Uh-huh.
would have been like, and just to use from an example, we would have been like the Wu-Tang or whatever of that whole
I see
era.
what
You know
you.
what I mean? A
At
bunch
that
of
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
ragtag. You know what I mean? Like a
Rowdy.
bunch of
Yeah.
the Dirty
Yeah.
Dozen. You know what I
And
mean?
see, I'm
Who
sorry.
came together to make it work. But these guys, it seemed like they had an end. You know what I mean? Like Red and them, they had like an end to the industry, and then a couple of other guys, they were doing their thing, but it was like, what about the gods? You know what I mean? The gods, we gotta, you know what I mean? We gotta get in there, and we just had a chip on our shoulder, man. It seemed like, you know what I mean? As the God Squad, we had a chip on our shoulder, and it was funny, but that was the battles we had. But then our only issue with somebody like from New Jersey in terms of rapping was like YZ. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
I was
I
gonna
think
say.
YZ
Yeah.
was doing stuff in Houston too, if I'm correct.
He was. I remember it
Yeah,
back in the day. Yeah.
he was
Right.
living there. So, he was the only one that and it was because Tony D was letting us hear stuff they were doing in the studio.
Okay.
And he was like, because Tony was kind of producing and working with both of us. So he kind of let
Okay.
us hear
Both
stuff.
ways. Right.
And then I think Wise might have fired the first shot. You know what I mean? On
Yeah.
Styles Drop Lessons Taught. You
Okay.
know what I mean? And that's my
Right.
guy. So I was like, he said what he said. you know?
You got it. Yeah. And
And
the
Right.
reason why I asked, man, not to cut you off, but I'm just saying, like, it was like Ada said, it's a small city,
yeah.
and you're kind of getting overshadowed by a bigger market, a bigger city. Your Philly, your New York, and everything. And you would think that somebody come out and represent for the city, that the city would be happy for you. Everybody's not happy for you, right? Like especially the people that do
No.
what you do. Everybody ain't happy for you. You would think, man, they putting the city on. They gonna bring more eyes and more attention to the city.
Yeah.
Just ride the wave, you know what I mean? But everybody not happy for you though, huh?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you hear little
Right.
things, but nothing really like materialized
Yeah.
into any real serious beef or anything like that. But I
Okay,
mean, we kind
that's
of
good.
supported one another when we went out. Like Ada was
Yeah.
saying, if we went to Philly, New York, or whatever, we would look for each other. We might, even if we had disagreements at home, when
Yeah,
we got
Yeah.
anywhere
It's
else,
different when we go
we
out.
was like
Yeah.
this.
It's
It's a
different when
whole
we
okay,
go
different
out.
It
thing.
was like, yeah,
Yes.
no, we anywhere we
Yes.
were, we'd handle anything else when we
Yep.
get home. But if
yeah,
we left Trenton,
Yes.
it was
Yep.
like
Yep. It's
Trenton in
different.
the house. That was it. Like when we did our first
Yep.
show at the Quando in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Q-Tip, all of them was there, but Trenton was in there so deep. You know what I mean? It
damn,
was like a whole nother borough was in New York that night. That's how deep we
Yep.
was in there. And everybody got
Mm-hmm.
up there that night, was like, yo, shout out to Trenton. Shout out to Trenton. Let me perform. Let me perform.
Yep.
Because we was that deep in there,
Yep.
but we
Yep.
always stuck together, man. You know what I mean? So
hmm
it would be like a
Yep.
smear on the city if we was really to go at each other like that, because being that the city was so small and we were trying to get out there, that wasn't cool. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? So
Yeah.
we tried to bring other people up. Like he was saying, like Don Black, you know, he was on
Yes.
our the Black Business album, Superstar,
Right.
Howard Israel
Yeah.
Shabazz, you know, a couple
Hmm.
other guys. Every album, like Lego Man and Long Man, they were two
Man.
dancehall
Yeah.
artists from the city.
Yeah.
You know, Rozzy High Power, you
Right.
know, so
Power.
and then
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we would try to work in, you know, different artists from the city on the albums. And we didn't start recording with people outside of the city into our fourth album.
Mm-hmm.
You
Wow.
know,
Right.
so all of the artists that we featured on our album was from Trenton.
So
You
that
know,
that's
Yeah.
history lesson right there in itself. If you want to kind
yeah,
of get a little history on the talent that was out there, you know, they can run through
Hmm.
your first three albums. You
yeah.
know.
The
Mm-hmm.
first three, I
Hmm.
mean, it was all produced by our producers in Trenton, and
Yeah.
the New World Order was the first one where we used outside producers and other artists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dope, man.
So
Dope.
yeah, it
You
was
guys
homegrown, man.
have to forgive me. I didn't get a chance to say, Rod, shout out to DJ Riley. He was supposed to be on with us again tonight, but he's, was still up in New York. He was
Okay.
busy. So, and just as a segue, just kind of talking about that, like, that's what I love what I'm seeing Ooh and I'm doing right now, even with the momentum, like, bringing different artists like I know that there's a lot of artists from the city that I may have missed from not being there, like that have
Mhm.
kind of came out over the years. um you know um but like I've been able to kind of follow some of the younger guys, and also like the Mo Flex and the Don Black, like they
Hmm.
definitely collaborate with other artists from the city, so that kind of keeps me up to speed, when I'm able to listen to their stuff and go back and, and listen to some of the older stuff. And like even with my nephews, my nephews were, they had when they were still there in Jersey, they had a group called the Heart of the City. So it's even
Mhm.
nice to see like one of the members from there, Black Collar Biz, he's still doing his thing. Like, so
Hmm.
it's like some really talented artists, you know, even like right now, like even there's an artist, Glow Asiatic. He just put out some new
Hmm.
stuff. Super dope, super
Hmm.
nice, just nice, and
Yes.
and that was why I was like, yeah, let's do this, because if nothing else, like, you know, um I just want to make sure that, people from the city are able to get some shine and get highlighted, and they realize like,
Mhm.
keep doing your thing. Cause sometimes I wonder, like, I don't think the younger generations really even understand what all they come from, like how much music, how much history, how
Right.
much Trenton has played a part in so many different things, the legends that have come out of the city. And I think, and that's one of the big things that we also have to, keep in mind. Like our motto on that bridge is Trenton makes the world takes, and it was
Mhm.
for, industry. But it's something that we holler all the time, but we don't really think about what that means. Like some of us have to, leave the city because we are able to take those things that we learned, from being in Trenton, from, it's like a mentality I feel like we have, that we're able to make it anywhere we go. And we're also
Mhm.
able to influence where we are. I believe that that's what my brother was able to do when he came to Houston, culture where he's at, like, all like there's so many people from Trenton that people don't even realize that's from Trenton. Like when you look at Adam Blackstone and see what he's done with his career, like this dude is like literally putting together the Grammys and all that stuff. That's Trenton right
Mhm.
there. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
those are the reasons why I like having these conversations, because if nothing else, like for the artist that's coming up, like yo, like, just know you come from good stock. You come from a good foundation. There's a lot of amazing artists that are there that came out of the city. Like he was talking about Truth or Square. you know, it was Unfound. Like there's so many groups that people might not know of that we know of. Like, and we
Yeah.
get excited when we see them people together. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask y'all this then. Y'all can kind of take turns with this. Who are some of the people from back then, man, that should have been there, that should be worldly known like PRT is, you know, like who some of those people that just should have been there too?
Mm.
Those
Wow.
unsung, those unsungs, like they make these shows and everything. Somebody that just didn't get enough either like media attention, or they didn't have enough finance to get them there.
You talking about
I
from
named
back in that
3,
period? Go ahead.
or
Go ahead.
just
Yeah,
period.
yeah, from that period that y'all know of, just to y'all knowledge, best to y'all knowledge. Like some people that we can still go back and check out now, and maybe breathe life into a new career or something for them, you know.
Like
What's
I
the
said,
name? There's
I
several
named
of them.
3. I'm gonna say definitely Glow Asiatic. I love Glow. I love his. I love
Mm-hmm.
his sound. I love Mo Flex McCray. I love his sound. I love Don P. Like all of them, I feel like still right now make
You
really
talking
good.
about Nation
Great
of
music.
Riot. Mo
Oh my
Flex
god!
Yeah,
And
McCray,
they,
Nation
yeah,
of
Nation of
Rise.
Riot.
Nation
Yeah.
Riot,
Nation
Shout
of
Out
Riot.
the Pie. Like they were super dope. Like I sent you their song too,
Okay.
like one of their older songs, and you know, just off the strength of just, you know, like I said, Caliber super dope, but I know he's kind of doing this other thing or whatever he got going on right now. And like I said, shout out to, you know, my nephew Stice the Preacher. He was part of Heart of the City. He's just still dope. But
Yeah.
I know
I really
Winston. I know Winston know a lot of the like the
newer
newer
guys.
artists, like because I know you
Mm-hmm.
link up with a lot of them
Mm-hmm.
right
Still, yeah.
now. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a lot of the guys from my era, you know, they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have internet and a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I will name like so we had like a guy by the name of General Lee. We called him the Chief
Mm-hmm.
Little Lee.
Okay.
And he
Mm-hmm.
was nasty. I mean, you know, his rhyme style. One time he said, ran out of gas. My Maxima tax me. If you ready, get Getty. If you see me on Premium, if it's unleaded, forget it. I would rather no moped it because I know where I'm headed. Plus, I'm too thoroughbred. I got retarded started. Shake me up to don't part it. Too many things on my mind and don't make me wait in no line. And
How
I know
does he
that business
remember
is
this
booming
stuff?
and that time is
Mm-hmm.
consuming. You got to make me look good for this MC reunion.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing punches in bunches, taking little kids' lunches. You know what I mean? He was one of them.
Yeah.
Whoa.
He was we
Yeah.
called him the chief Little Lee or General Lee.
General
He
Lee.
was from
Yeah.
Nas AV.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had somebody like Omar Superstar. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Said, come kick it with the Soldier Barn, and I ain't nothing to be effing with. Ain't nothing for me be taking to me idea and finessing it, and I'm stressing it. You know what I mean? Like these guys be
Yeah.
finessing it because the ledge ain't nothing to be
Yes.
messing with. Militant, nah, but I don't be running around killing. Born to be having a cup running over and I be spilling it. That's only saying I return what I learned and distilled. I'm not fulfilled to the next man can build. I'm dealing with tactics. I used to, you know what I mean? He was
Mm-hmm.
Man.
nasty. He's
Yeah.
still around. Then you have my man Diamond the Uzi. You know what I
Uzi
mean?
Dime. Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Was he
Diamond.
part of that crew that everybody had a name?
He was part of the
Yep.
ammunition crew. You know what I
Got
mean?
you.
Yeah.
And
Got you.
I
Got you.
reached back during our heyday. I reached back and tried to put a lot of those guys on wax, like
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
38, Tall Just. I made a song with him called "That's How the Flavor Run," and I did a couple
Mm-hmm.
other joints with him. Omar Superstar, he was featured on the Black Business album on the Real Ish.
Yep.
He was like, science, this super the duper. And you know what? Come to Rec Shop. And oh, yes, me come and nice it up and from the head top prop. Who me now never.
Yes.
I'm funky, fresh in the flesh. And I don't sweat it when man could curse me. When I receive the blessing, manifesting, feed, clothe, and shelter my 2 daughters. Bet there's no regret for the other wetness to my waters. I bum skip, cold dip, voice out like if I was singing it to you. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
he was like an uncle to me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so we made sure
Giving
those
you
boys
different
got
styles.
what
Yeah.
I did,
That's
yeah.
styles.
And then you had Power Israel Shabazz, which was Wise' older brother, you
Mm.
know, and
Mm-hmm.
he was rapping for a long time. And then you had Grandmaster Rajan, the guy I was telling you about.
Rod, yeah, that's
Was
I was
going
going
against
I
him.
was going to say
He was like
Rajan, man.
our town's Melly Mel, you know.
Oh, for real.
Rajan, man,
Yeah,
man,
it was like you know.
nah, he was like Melly Mel. Hold on, because I don't want him to get a certain sound in his head. If you hear Rajan,
Yeah,
you can hear Naughty by Nature on. You can hear Tretch on steroids. That's
yeah,
Rajan.
Oh
Like,
wow.
yo, this dude is
Okay.
crazy nasty. Like
yeah.
crazy nasty. Like if you ever
Rajan,
hear him.
yeah, he was a part of the God Squad, and I remember, you know, when cause I was rocking with them, but then I formed my younger group. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And you know, Rajan, man, he liked to battle anybody, man.
He'll
And
battle anybody.
yeah,
Still, probably till today too.
so
Probably
these
still
guys,
today.
all of these guys, man, was real nasty. But I think, you know, it takes a certain kind of focus. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, like anything, like the NBA or anything else. You know, you always knew guys who were nastier than some of the guys in the NBA.
Right.
But it
Yes.
takes a
Yeah.
certain type of focus, and it
Yes.
takes a
Yeah.
type of, you know, you got to be willing to
Mm-hmm.
go through it. You got to be willing to make some sacrifice. And I ain't talking about the type of sacrifice cats be making nowadays. I mean, like, stick to itness. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes.
Like, and
Yes.
when we was doing it, like I said, you know, it wasn't a lot of money in it for a lot of people.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And it wasn't
So
even about the money for a lot of
yeah.
people.
So if you had to stick with it regardless, and a lot of people, you know, they might have did what was right for their family. Like I know my man Omar, he was like a role model for me as far as family was concerned. You know what I mean? Because he was a real good family man, and you know, just a real good guy in the community. So I learned a lot from him on that tip, not just how to be an MC, but how to be a balanced warrior. You know, and you know, just guys like that, man. You know that General Lee, I tried to get him in the studio one time. I wasn't able to get back up with him, but he was one of the ones that I definitely wanted to get in there, man, because I was all about style, and I like the style, the way he was rhyming. You know what I mean? Him and man, Kareem Magnetic. You know what I mean? We call him
Yes.
the firstborn.
Yeah.
In
Mm-hmm.
Trenton from the Gods AV, you know, they had dope routines, man. Like dope routines they
Mm-hmm.
had, real dope. And I
Yeah.
would have loved to hear, you know, them on like now. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
Right.
because of the means that people have right now, you know, because if you
Mhm.
want to be heard, you want to be seen, I mean, you got everything right there at your,
Yeah. Now
you
today.
know,
Yeah.
you
Today
can
is
connect
different.
depth, you can connect right with your audience, and
Yes.
you know, like Russ said, man, you know, your fans will make you, you
Yeah.
That's
know.
right. That's
And
right.
I think the
So
same was true
It's
back
definitely-
then, but you had to go out and make fans. Like, you know, you got to go out and shake hands,
that's
talk to
right.
Yeah.
people, have
Politic.
manners,
Yeah.
you know, all that type of stuff. And, you know, show the fans that you appreciate them for coming out, you know,
Right.
do interviews, talk to people, let them know a little bit about you. And I would say like this, man, you know, the most important thing I heard, and this is for any artist, man,
Mhm.
a guy asked us at our management, he said, listen, man, you want to work your ego or you want to work your career?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
And when he
Yes.
said that,
Yes.
it was like, you know, so, you know, with the internet, you see a lot of ego, and that's what people put
Yes.
forth first. You know what I
Mhm.
Right.
mean? I'm fly, I'm blah, 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 blah. But talk more about your music, how the people can get your music, how they can,
Mhm.
where you're going to perform next, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. Thank people for tuning in and checking your stuff out. You know, let people know you appreciate them, man, and their support and stuff like that. And I think, you know, if you put your career before your ego, you know, you'll land somewhere pretty good, somewhere decent, man.
Right.
And
Fact.
that was one of the first things we had to learn, man. It's like, you know, people don't have to support you. You know, it's
Right.
not a
Yeah.
right, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
So yeah, that right there.
That's real because man, I kind of stray away from having guests that were in the industry because I see it as it's kind of like a bragging thing now with some of these
Mm-hmm.
platforms.
Mm-hmm.
They all want to
Mm-hmm.
say, "Oh, I had such and such on here today. I had such and such on here today." Um,
Mm-hmm.
with the goal that I was trying to get accomplished today, I didn't care who was going to get on, but when Ada said I can get culture, I was just like, "Are you sure?"
Mm-hmm.
Because that would be dope. But I don't never want to seem like the kind of person where I'm like bless my platform for me. No, I want to bless the platform for the people that might end up watching this later on down the line, you know, because I'm
That's
all
right.
about the people. I'm all about the other hip hop heads out there. Like I call my you know, my crew the lab techs, you know, since this back to the lab tech. So back to the lab is for everybody. You know, I let people correct me when I get dates wrong, or you know, when I get certain titles wrong. I let people correct me because we all in this together. So the fact that you took the time out and blessed the platform for the sake of what we trying to do for Trenton, it just means a lot to me, man. And I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Ada, you already know is love, but like dramatic, you know. I would have been happy with a cat like that because he know his history about the city, you
That's
know.
right.
But to
That's right.
get you on here, Culture Man, like that is really, really dope, man. You
Well,
know,
And
it's true.
let me
Go
say
ahead.
this, because I don't want you to think, Culture, that I was like, oh, I could get Culture, like I could just,
No,
you know.
no, you ain't got no. You know
This
me and
was
you.
this was a definite, well thought out God thing. Because when I
yes.
told him, you know, like I wanted to get you, because I already knew it was going to be a dope conversation. You know, I've been blessed since my brother passed away. You know, DJ Juice, again, rest in peace. He connected me with Culture. Of course, I knew who Culture was, I knew who Wise was, but I never knew Culture on a personal level. And ever since we connected from the workshop that I did in Jersey, we've been locked in. Like I can call Culture and just talk to Culture about life. We could about God or hip hop. You know, you pick it, pick and choose what you want to talk about.
Real
We're
talk.
gonna have a conversation. Winston, my cousin Brian tagged me in the live he was doing when my brother passed away. He was the first and only person I saw actually talking about my brother passing away from the city. Mind you, everybody else in the world is talking about it, but he was the only one in the city that was talking about it. From
Round the
that point
way.
on, we've been locked in, you know. And Ra,
That's right.
like I got like love for Ra, like ever since he got on a station that I actually used to have a gospel show on. And I just, you know, I just been supporting from afar ever since, even before I knew what he was doing with Big U and all that. Like I just had like, I loved his style, you know, so I knew this was going to be a dope conversation because of the people that was involved. And, you know, and I didn't want to, you know, bring in a whole lot of people, and I didn't want anybody to feel disrespected, like, oh, well, why, you know, why he on, why she on. I'm not an artist, but I do have love for the industry or the culture or whatever you might say. But what I really have love for, of course, is my city, my brother, and I love being able to bring that Houston and Trenton connection
That's
together
right.
to help even make that make sense. Because at the end
That's
of the
right.
day, what I want people to understand is just how dope you know, my city is, but also how dope Houston is. The fact that they accepted these people from a whole different place to come there, create a sound for them. Like I feel like that's something that should really be well deserved and respected. And I
Yes.
feel like sometimes we don't really want to talk about the fact that these guys were not from Houston, because I think we've gotten to a point now, especially with hip hop, you know, you want to have pride in your city and your town and all that stuff, but that don't take nothing away from Houston, because Houston is dope, you know, no matter what. But I think that it really says a lot about a place that is accepting, like, yo, this guy got whatever, and we gonna rock with that, because like at the end of the day, it makes me proud just to know that my brother was able to take what he learned from our city and bring it to your city and
Yes.
create a foundation for the Scarfaces and the DJ Screws that will come and all that Houston has become. That
Yes.
is dope to me. So I just
Yes.
wanted to make that connection, you know, if we could. And the fact that you even wanted to celebrate my city, like, thank you.
Yeah, like I told you from the day I saw that poster, that Fifth Ward Chronicle, Ghetto Boys. When I saw that, the first two people I looked at on that picture, I was like, "Who's the midget and who's the white man?" You know what I'm saying? I didn't know. I didn't know he was just a light skinned guy. I was like, "Who's the midget and who's the white man?" Like, what's up with this? But it's just so much came out of seeing that poster. Just the love I have for Ghetto Boys, the love I have for your brother. The sound changed when he got on the team. You know what I'm saying? And I remember the first time hearing "Rock This Funky Joint." I had the album with the Easy Star on it, and
That's my
like
joint to this day.
I just to be an H-Town nigga, and excuse my language, I just talk how I talk, man. But to be an H-Town dude, man, and a lot of people don't know about that Trenton, that Poor Righteous Teacher, that YZ, like they just didn't know about it, man. And I felt like a loner because I liked all this stuff, man. I was one of the cats that would read the magazine and I knew everybody by name. I knew what single to listen for if I was to ever hear it. We didn't get Video Music Box down here in H-Town, but I knew how important it was to the culture, you know, and that's the same way I felt about the cats that I would see in the magazines, the King Sons and the Jungle Brothers and stuff like that. Like being an H-Town cat, I was really, really well knowledged or well informed about what was going on everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Not just in H-Town. So that's why I had such a love for Trenton. And then when I found out that Ready Red was from Trenton, and confirm a couple of things for me, y'all. I know we mentioned Raheem a little bit earlier. So you said
Actually,
Raheem.
we wasn't talking about that Raheem.
Not that Raheem. Okay.
So,
Not
there's
the
a lot
rapper
of
Raheem. Okay.
that,
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah,
All right.
that was a totally different Raheem.
Okay. Because
Yes,
it was something said about him.
He's also Trenton bred.
Okay. Yeah, man. So that's what I'm saying. It's just it's a connection there. And I'm just one of them cats that I appreciate when the dots get connected. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure other people knew that, hey man, there's a hip hop historian, whatever you want to call him, down in H-Town, did a special episode about our city. That's what I want people, like the fact that he took the time to want to talk about Trenton, New Jersey. That's what I want people to say, man. And when they go back and they listen to it, they get knowledge from it. I feel like we did our job, but this is a conversation that this definitely won't be the last installment of this topic. I'd want to do it again with other artists who feel like they want to participate next time, or when we able to get Ra next time when he's not busy with his work, then we can get him on again. So this won't be the last conversation about Trenton, God willing, man. And I just want to make sure that we do the knowledge and we put people on to what came from the city and what's to come from the city. And so speaking of which, just who are some of the cats that y'all feel like people need to keep their eyes open for, man? So we know Big Ooh. You put me on the Big Ooh, Ada. I gotta give you your card for that because he is nice and I like his content.
You got Cali Cal,
Drasmatic, Scott Lark, To the Oil,
what's dude from Boulevard that be with Ooh too?
Who
Mike Mollis.
Mike Moless.
Yeah, Mike Moless. Also Aki that Culture produced. Aki, check, he got a few songs. Check Aki out. All of these guys are on YouTube. Don Black.
Don Black's son.
You talking about he's into battle rap, and that's
yeah. I
I
Oh,
have to.
your
forget
boy,
his name because
Like,
there's so
your
many
boy
of them. I'm
G
trying to
Money.
run through.
it's
Your
something
boy G
fly.
Money tapped in, Ada.
Tyrant
Hey, what's
Fly.
up?
Yeah, Tyrant Fly.
All right, that's what it is. Yeah,
Um,
I
him.
have to go start out.
You could check the kid. Big battle rap kid out of White City. I think he is. What's his name?
So
I
they
forgot his
got you
name
talking
too.
about Big O, you talking about Big O, Don Black son, wise,
Yeah,
intelligent nephew. They got
yeah,
an album coming out called Broken Dreams.
Hmm.
Nice,
yes.
That's
nice.
the. It's
Yeah,
called the momentum, right?
yeah,
No,
it's
is
called
it? Yeah,
Broken
it is.
Dreams.
It
The
is.
album, but the group itself is that what's
Um,
called the momentum? I'll find
Mhm.
out definitely.
So
But
yeah, I think
I'm
it's
about
called
to
the
send it to
Momentum.
you
I think
now.
so.
I'm about to send
I
you
just
the
spoke to Black today myself.
so he
Just
Culture
earlier.
gonna send it to you.
Okay.
yeah.
They super
I
dope too.
just sent it to you, so you'll have it's off of Big Oo's page, but the album is called
Hmm.
Broken Dreams. They're dropping that. Drasmatic and Cali Cal.
Drasmatic.
They got some stuff
Um,
they dropping. It's a lot of young guys out there, man, that's really doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Are y'all proud of the direction that the city going when it comes to hip hop?
well, I
yeah,
mean,
they just never stop. Long as they never stop, for me, it's good. Long as they keep it moving. For me,
What
they still moving, so it's pretty good. Long as they keeping it moving. You know what I mean?
I think what makes me proud is hearing, like I said, some of the, I don't want to say older guys, but guys that have been doing it for a while. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
even like I don't know if anybody else listened to the latest Smith and Wesson like album.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
you talking about Medina in the
That's
world?
my
Hey,
Yeah, the new,
like,
that's
the new
my
one.
that's
Yeah,
shit
the
my
new
right
one
there.
tough.
baby.
Yeah,
Like that's my joint right
the
there.
new
I don't
album is
know.
nice.
It's
Yeah,
like a certain pride that I
yeah.
have as a person from that era and hearing like how they still are killing it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that anybody that just remains true to who they are, not trying to go with the fads and sounding like what everybody else sounds like, I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's going to be the biggest
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like if and they got to support each other.
Right.
The only reason why
Yeah.
Atlanta became Atlanta is because Atlanta supported Atlanta.
Yeah, they just
And
Right.
they
kept making
still like
music.
that. You know what I'm saying? They don't, yeah, they can go anywhere, but they don't really have to. Like a lot of those older artists, they is good because Atlanta support them and they
Mm-hmm.
constantly are doing things. And that's what I feel like, has to, happen in any area. You got to support your artists, and supporting your artists allows them to stay creative and
Mm-hmm.
allows them to remain true to themselves so that they don't feel like they gotta sound like somebody else just to, get some type of recognition.
That's real.
Power Asiatic Supreme Man. And I mean, shout out to Force for always dropping a verse if I ask him. Culture Freedom for dropping a verse when I ask him. You know what I mean? It's a lot
Oh
of
my
people,
God.
like
And
got like tons of
you,
people on.
you didn't talk about one of the dopest artists to come out of the city, that passed away, Neff 150.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Neff 150. He'll
yeah, that's
drop a
my
verse
guy,
when I
man.
ask him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Tyson, he'll drop a verse when I ask him. Who else? I'm just running through. Go ahead and speak. My bad. Go ahead and speak.
no, that's good. I mean, she mentioned F-150, and charges to my
Right.
head, not to my heart.
and
But
we
I
just been
just
Right.
going.
did a whole album with him, and it's called Laminar Flow.
Okay.
And you know what I mean? Is return. Actually, it was from the album Bars Is Back, and I just took it and merged it with some other stuff that I did, and I released it on Bandcamp. It's called Laminar
Yeah.
Flow, Laminar Flow on
Okay.
Bandcamp, and it's real
Mhm.
dope, man. His work ethic is crazy,
Yeah.
and real good guy, man. And that his loss was definitely felt, and it's still
Yeah.
being felt because he had that work ethic, man, that it takes to really get there. And it was real
Mhm.
dope. Actually, we did during the pandemic. We did an
Hmm.
album together over the internet,
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
Damn.
and it's real dope. We shot some videos, and
Real
him,
good.
yo, Aki, you mentioned Aki.
Key,
And
yeah.
I part of what I was doing was producing, so I got a lot of material on a lot of those artists that I mentioned. You know what I mean? And
So you sitting on a time capsule.
yeah, man, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Just because, one of the things I said, my man Omar Superstar said, he said, I'm not fulfilled until the next man can build.
Mm.
Right? I
Yeah,
haven't
Yeah.
done my
yeah,
job until somebody else can replace me or the next person can do what I'm doing. So that's
Jesus.
always been the goal, like to discipleship. You know what I mean? Like to
Mhm.
bring somebody up, and not just for the right now, but for the long term. You know what I'm saying? Because positive people make great couples make great families make great children.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it starts first here, and then you add on. And that's what I'm about, man. All the young brothers out there that's doing what they're doing. I think the one thing that I can say that's staying consistent in Trenton is the lyricism.
Okay.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? The
And stand,
lyricism,
yeah,
above anything else. Even if I might not be in with to what anybody's doing, the standard of
right.
lyricism
And
remains the
still at a
same.
height.
Yeah, it
Yeah, it's
remains the
still at a
same. And
height.
I think
Yeah,
that's the tradition that's being passed on in Trenton,
down
is that
generational.
put
Hmm.
the work in. You know
Right.
what I
Mhm.
mean? You got to
Yeah,
put the work in, because we might not all A alike or be alike, but sometimes, we might not even see alike. You see what I'm
Mhm.
hmm,
saying? But the thing of it
yeah,
is that we can understand that the culture has to survive. And the only way
Mhm.
it's
yeah,
going to survive is that people be innovative, they put time in. Ren
yeah.
set that standard. I mean, and my brother Father Ramsey set that standard. Omar
Standard,
set
yeah.
that standard. Diamond set that standard. General
Hmm.
Lee set that standard. And it was about, like, just like not taking those shorts. You know what I mean? And just like you saying with Houston, man,
Hmm.
with Scarface and stuff like that, man, he
Hmm.
get respect around the world for being
Yeah.
the lyricist, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And he connects with everybody, just like the Ghetto Boys connect with everybody, man. It's like, when you got respect for the craft, you're going to connect with people, man. And that's what I think about hip hop. We got to keep it about the art and keep it about the people. Because
Mhm.
if it wasn't about the art and the people, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now.
Facts.
You know what I'm
yeah,
Facts.
saying? We wouldn't be, because we know what the culture means, and we know what the culture has done for so many people, man. It saved a lot of lives. You
Yep.
Yes.
know what I'm saying? When the outsiders didn't believe in it, we stuck with this culture until it became what it is today. You know what I
hmm,
mean? And we got to keep it around so somebody else can use it to
yeah.
elevate themselves.
Right.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? And I think sometimes social media get in the way of me, because when we went to Houston, we had the song "Butt Naked Booty Blessed," and we were talking about raw undressed lyrics. But when we got to Houston, they had a dance called the drop. Do
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you remember that?
Yeah. I remember the drop.
Yeah, we was like, yo, before y'all do that song, I want to let y'all know that they got a dance called a
Mhm.
drop, and you just be ready for what you gonna see.
Yeah,
Drop it low. You know what I'm talking
We
about?
was like, man, what we gonna see? You know what I mean?
yeah.
But it was like the culture. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing that I love about hip hop. And it doesn't mean if you're from the South, Midwest, West, wherever, is you get to experience somebody's culture,
Right.
how they do it. That's for me,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. I mean, being
Yes.
from New Jersey, New York got their thing. New York has their flavor. We all love and respect New York
Right.
because that's the Mecca, right? But I'm gonna say, although other people got flavor in the way they do it, and that's the way I wanted to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
if I went to Texas, I want to hear, you know what I mean, that Texas flavor. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because you want to experience the culture. You know
That's
what
right.
their slang sound like. You know what I mean? Y'all, like, they had different slang. They had different style of dress. They had different. They might flow on some laid back beats or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's
Mhm.
what make us all who we are as a people,
Oh
man.
yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what
Mhm.
I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, keep that going. You know what I'm
That's
saying? Like
right.
when Snoop and them popped out west, with G Thing and all that. That was West Coast hip hop, West Coast flavor.
Yes, yes,
You know what I
yes.
Yeah.
mean? And for somebody not to embrace that, man, and not to let it grow like that, that's crazy, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you want to. That's in one thing PRT did is kept it about the people. Is that everywhere we went, that was our people. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
once we understand that, if you go to New York, that's your people.
That's right.
You
That's
go
right.
down south, that's your people. You go out west, that's your
Yeah,
people. You gotta stop
yeah.
seeing it as, oh, that's them out
That's
there,
them. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
over there.
Yeah,
No, that's
yeah,
your people.
yeah.
That's your
Yeah.
cousins.
People,
That's your
yeah.
aunts.
Yeah.
Man, I got
It's your
family
people, yeah.
everywhere, man. I got family in Alabama. I got family in Long Beach. I got
Yeah.
family in Georgia. I got, man, that's family everywhere.
You got family in
You know what I
Everywhere.
H-Town
mean?
now. You got family in
Yeah.
That's right.
H-Town, baby.
So
That's right.
that's how the when we got there, we was like, okay, we gonna party with our people.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? And if somebody got wrong, we was like, get them out.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you
Yeah.
said, you said that's West Coast hip hop, because a lot of people wouldn't acknowledge it as hip hop. They would say, "Oh, you know, that's rap. That's
Man,
rap. That's
please.
not hip hop." I always tell
That's hip
people,
hop.
man, it's under the umbrella, man. You know, whether it's
Yeah,
backpack,
man.
whether it's conscience, whether it's boom bap or whatever, it's under the umbrella, man. We gotta stop putting these boundaries within the culture, man. Like we all here. We all here. Like let's
And
Yeah, man.
I think the problem
Right.
is that, you know, we all that have been a part of this culture know that there is a difference between hip hop and rap music, right?
Yeah, hip
But
hop is the culture.
the
Yeah.
region doesn't
Right.
make it so much rap music. You know,
exactly.
the idea is like, what is culture? Culture is something is a shared belief system, a group of ideas,
Mm-hmm.
a language, a dress, whatever
Mhm.
amongst people. And that's what hip hop was for young black and brown people, that
Yeah.
it gave us a way to be able to express ourselves, whatever. So of course, if I'm not from down south, I'm not going to express myself the way that you might express yourself, because my environment is totally different. You
That's
know
Mhm.
what I'm
right.
saying? So all this was really like, you know, a bunch of tribes, just like if we were over in Africa, like this tribe, you know,
Mm-hmm.
this is the way that they do things, this is the way, and that's all it was. And I think I was like telling you, D, one of the greatest things for me was, you know, when I was watching um when Steve Stout was doing his interview, and they're in his office, and I look up and I see my brother in them's picture up on, you know, the wall, and seeing that he's a part of that class of 88,
That's
because
right.
that was the most diverse class that came at that time in hip hop. You had people from everywhere and nobody sounded the same, and we was rocking to all of it
All
because
of it.
we
That's
were so
right.
hungry for it. You know what I'm saying? We
Each and
wanted it to sound different. We it was like,
Right.
yo, like this is different, but we still understood it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the worst thing we could do is to get away from the idea that
Mhm.
we do all have to sound the same, or that every artist has to sound the same. I think that, you know, it hip hop was a way that we used to be able to communicate without anybody else knowing what we was really talking
Right.
about.
Right.
To get back to that, because
Yeah.
It's still that way. It's still that way. It's still that
not
way.
That's
as
It's
much as it
just
used to be, because
nah. It's just you gotta be aligned. You gotta be aligned into what the younger or whoever's kicking it, you gotta be into their way, lane like that. It's still the same way. It's still the same way. It
no,
ain't no
I know what
different.
you're saying, but
I
it's also
can't sit here and
much
scold them
you're
like that.
saying. No, no,
Mm.
no, I'm not scolding. What I'm saying is we have to get back to appreciating the fact that we did create our own way to communicate.
Nah, but we ain't never lose it. We ain't losing that. And I ain't coming against you. I'm just sparring with you right now
Oh,
because
you know,
we didn't
you know,
lose.
I
We
ain't got
didn't
no
lose.
problem. No,
yeah,
I ain't
We
never
we
got no
just
problem.
I'm
I think
sparring with you a
honestly
little bit.
she's
We didn't
talking
lose
about
it.
a main she's talking about mainstream, and you're talking about the fact that people never stop doing it.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
just not on the
Yes.
surface. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's
Yes.
not
They.
on the
Yeah.
surface
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
you know, the
I
powers
mean,
that be.
we always going to
Yeah,
have the underground. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Right.
Hip
Nah,
hop.
I don't even see it as underground. It's just this is how, in a certain way, this is how we live. You get what I'm saying? I know it ain't, and I'm not even including myself because I kind of don't live on a certain level that certain people would live, but it just this is how it go. Like this how it be going out here. Like we'll go to another city and certain things go down. You be like, yo, that's just how it be going. It ain't nothing we could do about that. Like it's just how it be going. I mean, you would think somebody think like, but everybody don't come from the same type households. It's deeper than
Oh,
it's
and
deeper than what we would think.
the
You feel
beauty
me?
of hip hop was, you know, growing up, we used to go back and forth to California, right? We was back
Yeah,
and forth all the time. But I was
yeah.
never there. I didn't live there long enough to see what
To see
LA's and
how they get down, like yeah, how they get down. Yeah, they
I
get
didn't
down
watch
out there.
it
You feel me?
after you had, you know, that music coming from the West Coast. I could picture what life
You could
was.
picture what it is. Yeah, that's right. That's what, and it
Like,
still does it.
yeah,
I
I went to
remember,
you.
like
What
I
was that?
said,
Just a couple weeks ago for the first time I came to
Yeah,
Houston. And I mean, of
yeah,
course, I did for a time, but I didn't have to go there if I didn't want to, because I could have. You know what I'm saying? Like that
yeah.
was like hip hop was social media before we had social media.
Right. It is, and it was. This is how. All right. This is how we used to find our way around in certain cities through hip hop. Like, all right, when we go to Newark just is hop almost near New York to us. It's like an hour away, whatever. But it's our cousins. To anybody outside of Jersey, right? So we'll go there and they know we from Trenton when we go to an event or whatever. They be like, where y'all from, Divine Land? They call the whole Trenton Divine Land because that gives you a mindscape, a mindset of what goes on throughout that town, which it do. It Divine Land is just around the way, just the projects, but the whole somebody outside would be like, because it's so small, but it do move like that in most areas throughout the town. It is like a Divine Land. It is a bunch of 5%ers over here, over here, over here, and over here. Most of them know how to build over here. Some of them know how to build over here. It's all that, like, so you going into certain zones, right?
well,
But
it's
it
like
gives you a map. It gives you a map
NWA,
of you know what I mean?
NWA, you know, brought Compton to the table, right?
Yes.
Right,
Like
right.
they made you. I mean, it might have been other people that was probably mentioning it. So you know, I'm not going to say they're the only ones, but they're the premier groups that made, you know, Compton what it
Mm-hmm.
was. And then you
Yes.
had Brooklyn, you had the South
Yeah.
Bronx. You know what I
Bronx,
mean?
Queensbridge. Yeah.
You got an ideal of, because you wanted people to know where you were from. You wanted to put your
Hmm.
city on the map.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to make it known, or like Cloverland or something like that. You
That's
know,
right.
Mm-hmm.
you wanted
Mm-hmm.
people, even if you wasn't from there, you got an ideal of what it was like. And if you listen to the
Right.
album, you can hear it, like America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He had a song called "Don't Mess with a Girl from the Projects," right?
Hmm.
And it was so vivid. Like
Yeah.
you is, I don't bang, I rock the good vibes. The
Yeah.
whole scenery
Right.
reminded
Might
me of
be a
good
good
time.
time.
You know
Time.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
It's funny that you
He could
mentioned
take you.
that.
Yeah.
yeah, you
He could
I'm
take
listen,
you through it.
I'm gonna break that
yeah,
album down. I'm breaking that album down this month too because it's hitting
yeah.
35
It
years. You
was
know what I'm
it
saying?
was
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
like with the Bomb Squad and all of that. I mean, him
Yes.
coming to New York to get his album produced, being from
Produce. Yeah.
LA. You
Yeah.
see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It
That
added a
chemistry is
different
so
type
dope.
of flavor
Yeah.
because
Chemistry. Yeah. Yeah. That
the
line of
kind of
chemistry is
aggression,
so dope. Yeah.
yeah, the kind of aggression that Ice Cube had, you know, over
Yeah.
the Bomb Squad beats, you know, just number one, the aggression that he had, and then the fact that he was leaving from a group where he felt he was being mistreated or overlooked. And when the
Right.
album comes on, he said, "You got any last words?" "Yeah, I got some last words." And then I heard "Paybacks," but that was
Yeah.
fine. I'm sitting there
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Ooh,
Yeah. And
check
it's
this out."
rocking.
I mean, it
Yeah.
was like you felt it. You felt where he was coming from. You felt it, like you experienced Compton when you listen to that album. Even though they say, "Oh, well, he wasn't from the street, he was a true artist because he was able to capture what was going on
Yes.
and put it
That's
on
right.
wax. You got a lot of people who lived it, but they're not an artist to the degree that they can take what they see or what somebody else experienced and put it on wax and make you feel what was happening in that area during that time. And I think Jay-Z and them did the same for Brooklyn. KRS did the same for the South Bronx. You know what I mean? And
Shan did it for Queens.
That's what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like when I went to Georgia and I was pumping Outkast, me and you, your cousin and too, going through this hips on foes.
That just hit 30. That just hit 30 years too. Yeah.
I'm riding around Atlanta bumping that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm checking out the restaurants. I'm listening to the music. I'm checking out the spots to get some gear from. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not. For me, I'm just saying me. I don't want to travel out west to find Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Show me something else. I'm out here. Show me out here.
Yeah,
right.
Man. I want to know where y'all eat at. I want to know where y'all hang.
Yeah.
I want to know what's going on.
And where not to go, because that's important as well.
And we're not to go. And we're not to go. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Both ways. Yeah, both ways.
But you gotta listen. You gotta
Absolutely.
have a true ambassador of the city to help you do that.
Yeah.
You gotta get somebody who really knows the city who could say, "Hey, bro,
that's right.
Man, you don't want to go down there." And you know what they mean.
Yeah.
They ain't gotta tell the whole story about it.
I don't need no details. I don't need no details.
Say, look, man, and you know everything that's going on down there.
Be like, say less. Say less.
It's just some things that's universal that carry from city to city, from state to state.
That's right.
You know
that's
what
right.
I mean? And
that's right.
Saying, how did you feel? You know what was going on in the Bronx, and you from Houston. That's because there's a thin line that runs between all of those cultures and all of those places that we talk about, and that struggle. You know what I mean? The struggle that we experience as a people, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean, where you're from, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I said, man, north, south, east, west, no matter this place, is still the same stress. Crooked police, when till it cease?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Come on, people,
everywhere.
You know what I mean? We still encounter poverty, crooked police, oppression. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, you tell me something. I can learn something from listening to this guy, listening to that guy. But hip hop has always been a collage, of everything. A Mod Podge of whatever. You find the best of whatever and you put it together and you make it work. And that's why songs like when Jay-Z got with
TGK
and all of them. That's why that
Big
song is
Pimpin',
such a big hit. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's like one got Kool-Aid, one got sugar, and one got water. It's a hot, thirsty day.
You put it all together. Put it all together.
I mean?
Yeah,
I like that.
Joke over like, man, listen, mix, man, so we can get something to drink.
Yeah.
Joke over here like, man, if it wasn't for my water, you know what I mean? You wouldn't be if I ain't had no sugar, it'd just be bitter and nasty. Well, if it wasn't for my flavor, you would just be drinking sugar water. You get diabetes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, y'all mix this together so we can have something to drink.
Real talk. Real talk.
It doesn't, like the stuff we sampling, you know what I mean, came from this place or that place. You know what I mean? DC Collins and all of these other people, man, they wasn't all from New York.
Nope.
You know what I mean? James Brown, he came from somewhere else. Tina Turner came from what? Nutbush.
Somewhere else.
Yeah. So it's like, man,
Nutbush.
When we heard her, look, Michael Jackson, man, Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
Naughty by Nature samples ABC, and look what happened.
Look at DJ Premier, man. Look at DJ Premier. DJ Premier from H-Town.
Yeah.
From Houston. Yeah.
And he's looked at as the prototype for the
Yeah.
hip hop beat,
Boom bap.
the
Yeah,
boom
boom
bap.
Boom
bap.
bap. Yeah. Boom bap. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Bruh,
And we love Primo.
Really
this would
good.
definitely not be the last time, man. And inshallah, man, hopefully we can all, get together again with a couple of more people or however it come together, man. I feel like it needs to continue on a little bit more after this, man, when we get a little bit more knowledge. When I figure out what other lanes we need to tap into, we definitely gonna link this back up again, man. You know what I'm saying?
Let's
So
do
thank
it.
Yo,
Yeah, we can do that.
you.
yo, I appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Yo, let everybody know where they can find y'all at, man, before we get up out of here. Culture, yeah, let them know where they can find you at, and tell them about the cooking and everything too, man.
Oh
Mhm.
man, you can find me on IG on Hip Hop's Top Chef. You can check me out on there, see what I'm doing as far as the culinary. If
Yes.
you want to get some of this gear you see me with on, you can go to www.cultfreecollection.com, pick that up, or you can hit Culture Freedom PRT and hit me up on Instagram on that if you want to see what the group's doing. We also have the Poor Righteous Teachers page on Instagram as well. And yeah, man, just go in there and check us out. We're still doing stuff. Wise is still dropping stuff. He's working in conjunction with Rap Snacks with Boss Up. So yeah, hit us up on there.
I love it. I love it, man. Dramatic.
Yeah.
Let them know where they can
Dramatic.
find that.
Y'all can find me on Facebook as Winston Dramatic Mills on Facebook. I have a show. I start back. I usually do a show myself. You know what I mean? Which I'll probably have you on the show as well through
Man.
Ada if Ada don't mind. You know what
Hell
I mean?
yeah.
And oh yeah, shout out to Dap Swell, Ferocious LG, Katie Ranks. You know what I
Yes.
mean? If you guys get a chance, go ahead and check them out. They making some new stuff. They making new music. What else? You could also catch me on Instagram and TikTok. Sometimes I go live on TikTok. I just show material of what's going on around the city musically. No other bogus stuff. Nothing crazy. You know what I mean? Nothing crazy. Shout out Scott Lark, still my friend from childhood. You know what I mean? Shout out Don Black, still my friend, childhood. You feel me?
Real talk.
Y'all could check them out too as well. My brother, if anybody need a cooking certification for a certified cook across the country, y'all can link up with Luther Paul Mills on Facebook. That's my brother. You know what I mean? I give him a little shout, give him a little lane as well. You know what I mean?
No,
And that's about it. Yeah.
no doubt. No doubt. I appreciate you.
Thanks,
Ada,
Ada.
talk to him.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for having us all. This has been super dope. Again, as y'all know, my name is Ada, but you can find me on Instagram as Miss Thursday. Not quite sure if I'll be bringing a podcast back, but I will definitely be around supporting other, people's podcasts and having dope conversations like this. So thank you again, D, for having me. My goal is always to connect dope people. So I definitely look forward to seeing you and Winston or you and Culture or you with anybody.
Yes.
Up a big shout out again to Caliber 007, my fam, for joining in. Rap a Lot Records, Gil, love you, man. Really, thankful that I've been able to connect with so many people from Houston. And, so shout out to Viciously, shout out to my brother, Jukebox, shout out to Johnny C, shout out to Shakeem, shout out to, just everybody that's been supporting me. But I'm sorry, we did not talk about any of the female artists from the city. So please forgive me for that because we definitely have had some dope female MCs as well.
Shout
But
out to Lioness Roars. Can't
yes,
forget
shout out
her.
to Lioness Roars,
Yes.
definitely.
Shout out
But
DJ Madam T. Yeah.
is that
Maybe that's what we do. Maybe the next one be
exactly my thing
yeah.
was
The
I
next
wanted
one be some females on here.
because we got a lot of dope DJs. So shout out to my brother DJ Swell. Shout out to T-Bone. Shout out to William H. Shout out to Rob, we wish you could have been a part. I know I'm missing a lot of people. He talked about Father Ramsey, who has definitely, been at this for a minute. It's, the DJs are the ones who have allowed us to stay connected with the music, by making sure that, they played the latest and the greatest, as well as, just giving us dope stuff to, kind of create too. So shout out to all of the DJ. Oh, and also DJ Ox, love you, man. Just this been a good one. This past my
Real
bad
talk.
self. My daughter
Real
looking
talk.
at.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, DJ. Rest in peace, DJ Ox. Rest in peace, DJ Juice. Rest in peace to Kim Beecham. Shout
Yeah,
out
man.
Divine Drummer. Shout out DJ Original. You know what I mean? It's a lot more, but it's a lot more. You know what I
We'll
mean?
catch him
Thank
on.
y'all
We'll
for
catch
having
him
me
on
on
the next series, man. On the next installment of this
All right.
series. And
And
before we go,
Culture didn't mention, but y'all need to get some of that barbecue sauce and the
ooh,
seasoning on his website.
ooh,
It's in there because it really is. Okay.
ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't mess around with flavor. Put it in there with Hip Hop's
Yeah.
Top Chef barbecue sauce and rub. Go
Put a
check
little
it out,
soul in
man.
your bowl.
Man, listen, hey, we gotta eat, man. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Rappers got to
indeed.
eat too, man.
Hey, man, this show is dedicated, man, to DJ Ready Red and Father Shaheed, man. You know what I'm saying?
Most
Tone D.
definitely.
Yeah, man. Look, big up Trenton, man. Big up Trenton. I'm gonna say it again. Big up Trenton. Look, from H-Town to Trenton, man, y'all know it's love down here, man. And I will be your ambassador when you come to H-Town and you got some time on your hand. I'll be the ambassador to tell you where to go, where not to go, and all
There
that
you
good
go.
stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, make
You will
There you
definitely
go.
need that. But
Yes,
definitely,
indeed.
the Jersey area.
and
Yeah,
everybody that's on, make sure y'all tune in on Wednesday because you'll
yeah,
actually be able to hear some of
yeah.
the music from some of these artists that we talked about.
That's right. That's right.
Rest
Tap
in
in,
peace.
man.
Rest in peace, Father Shaheed. Trenton shit. I'm out. I love y'all,
Already.
man.
Peace,
Love
peace,
you.
peace, dramatic. Yeah, man.
All
Yeah,
right,
so
one. So I sent you those links, man. When you get a chance, check them out.
I definitely will, brother. I definitely will, man. I appreciate your time, man. And inshallah, this won't be the last time. You know what I mean?
No doubt. Peace.
One love. Peace, peace. Ada, thank you so much, man. You made it happen. You know, like I said, this ain't gonna be the last. This ain't gonna be the last. But I do love where we started.
Yes.
I feel like anybody get a hold of this, man, they gonna leave with a lot of info from this
Mhm.
convo right here, man. And we gonna definitely do it again. I
Yeah.
appreciate you, and you know we love you, girl.
Love you too.
All
And
right.
you guys have a good night. I'm looking forward to listening on Wednesday, see what,
For sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah. You know, I'm gonna send you the playlist when I get it all together, just so you could have a heads up. You know what I mean? But the order might be however I want to make the order. You
You
know
need
what I
listen,
mean?
you gotta still put a little, eight down flavor on it now.
Yeah, I gotta put the little Ace Town swag on it. You know how it go. All
You
right,
gotta
man.
be real nice. All right, thank
No
you
doubt.
so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. We appreciate you, man. We love you. You have a good rest of the night. All right.
You too.
Already. Yeah, man. This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about, Lab Techs. Hey, it's your kinfolk DMR, man. Look, it was a great conversation. Man, I just gotta thank Ada. I gotta thank Dramatic. I gotta thank Culture Freedom. Man, share the experience, the Lab Techs. I love doing this shit. You know what I'm saying? So until next Monday, stay celebrating classic hip hop albums, legendary MCs, DJs, producers, etc., in the cashmere sweater. It's back to the lab, y'all. Peace.